everybody, my name is Kyle2609, welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, it's going to be another deck profile video, and in this one, it's going to be a deck profile on my Mitsurugi Ryzeal deck that I got third place with at the Lubbock, Texas Regional this past weekend. So the deck profile is already online. It's on Team Bortle's channel. I'll put it in the link in the description down below if you want to go check that out. But the purpose of today's video is not to go over the deck. If you want to know what the deck list is, there you go. It's on screen right now for you. But the reason why I'm making this is to go more into theory talks with the deck, kind of explain why I went with certain ratios with the deck, go over my matchup spread with the deck, things I would stick with the deck, things I would change with the deck, some ideas I also have with the deck. Kind of, again, just like a theory talking video, me talking just about theory with the deck and stuff like that. Things that I have ideas for and what I think the deck can do in the future as well. But before we do this, two shout outs before we get into it. Both of them is the testing mates I have, Jefferson Delaney and Christopher Brandenberry. They kind of helped me theory the deck and helped me test before the event as well. And Christopher Brandenberry got second place at the Lubbock, Texas Regional, so he did really well as well. But I got third place only with the one loss. We both lost to the same player. We both lost to the first place player. But yeah, shout outs to them. If I say if we went with this kind of ratio, that's who I mean by we, is Jefferson Delaney and Christopher Brandenberry. But without further ado, let's get into the deck profile itself. So the non-engine we will come back to later because I want to kind of explain what our thought process with the deck was with first, like the engine part of the deck was with first, before I go into the non-engine part of the deck. Because that's kind of how we test these decks, is we kind of go with the engine first, see what the engine can do, like what the actual main deck monsters or the deck can do, before we actually start focusing on what non-engine to play with it. So first off, the new Mitsurugi stuff is just completely wild. I made a deck profile 2.5 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, talking about this right when the Allen pre-release happened, and I did really well then, and just getting more testing with it. It's just absolutely ridiculous what the new support can do for Mitsurugi. It's just consistency, but the fact that this is Habakiri is just a one-card combo was the wildest part about this. But yeah, the reason I decided to play this deck for Lubbock, Texas was because I like the board-breaking aspect about Mitsurugi. If you know me as a player, I really like breaking boards. It's kind of one of my favorite things in Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially right now, is to kind of just break a field, go second and break their field and kind of set up on trying to either OTK them or grind them out of the matchup. That's kind of how I like playing right now. And Mitsurugi Ryzeal is pretty much that. This is the best deck. I think going second is very insane. Don't get me wrong, Malice still has, can load up on a shit ton of hand traps. And same thing with other rogue decks. You can load up on a lot of non-engine and still do that. But I think with the Mitsurugi deck is if I draw all engine, I can still pretty much break a field. And that's the reason why I decided to go with this deck, was because of that reason. I'm okay, I like this. It also has a really good lines into the Charmy cards as well. If you get Fuad or Pireliad, you still have lines to play, maybe to give them maybe a draw or two, but still pretty much still do your full combo and end on a lot as well. So that's the reason why I decided to go with this. We did recognize that draw was going to be a problem for the deck, but we found lines if you hard draw players, or if you just start with Habakiri, Tribute Saji, get to the ritual spell first off your first search before you get drolled, that you're still pretty much good to go. It's going to be rough, but you can still get to this the Murakumo. You're still pretty much fine. And we decided just to go to the one-ofs with the decks as well. Is Saji, Kusangi, and Armasa. Armasa is cool. It's a one-card combo. It's just as a normal summon, but since we are playing the Ryzeal stuff, I was if I'm going to normal summon a card, I want it to be the Ryzeal stuff, so I did just put it down to one. But I'm still playing the Night Sword Serpent. There was two reasons for this. Number one, I'm not playing 7 Tachyon. I'll get to the reason why I'm not playing 7 Tachyon in a little bit, but since I'm not playing 7 Tachyon, I decided to keep the Night Sword Serpent in the deck, because this was the bridge into the Ryzeal stuff. If I just draw the Mitsurugi stuff, the Night Sword Serpent would be the bridge into the Ryzeal stuff, because it's a level 4, and a lot of the times you can go tribute Armasa off the deck, search for Kusangi, normal summon Kusangi to add back the ritual spell from graveyard. So let's say you want to go just a starting hand of just Habakiri. You go Habakiri, tribute Saji. Saji effect to search for ritual. Ritual effect to summon from hand. Summon the Habakiri from hand by tributing Armasa and Serpent. You go Serpent 1, Armasa 2. You summon out Serpent. Armasa adds Kusangi to hand. Normal summon Kusangi. Add back the ritual spell from graveyard. Then you have your 2/4s on Kusangi and Night Torp Serpent to go into a duo drive. And you still have the Habakiri on field with the ritual spell to get into the Murakumo from the deck as well. So that's the reason why we kept it with this. A lot of the time, like I was like, in theory, was signing this out going second because it technically isn't the greatest card in the world going second. This is not a card you want to draw ever. But later in the tournament when I was in Lubbock, Texas, the more and more I realized I'm like, I really don't want to side this card out. It's just a free body. Yes, it does draw to suck. But another thing about the deck and the reason why I like it a lot is all it necessarily needs is one card in the deck to go its combo. Like, right, you only need like one Ice to resolve or one Habakiri to resolve. Sure, Serpent might be a brick and you wish you would rather be something else, but if this is the only brick in your hand and you have other playable stuff, then it's perfectly fine. And again, you want that advantage off the ritual to just get extra bodies. Because there's a lot of times, especially going second, that I wanted to get an extra body on the field to go into extra deck plays, right? So even though like early on I was siding out a Serpent going second, the later in the tournament I was like, actually, I think this actually might be correct just to keep in the deck, just to make sure like I have the extra bodies. Now, you can go either way with it. I'm still 50-50 on it. I guess it depends on the matchup. I don't know. I can still see the argument for just siding this out going second and just making sure you don't brick and stuff like that. But again, like I said, the later in the tournament I played, the more and more I decided to keep this in the deck just so I had the extra body to play with. We already went over prayers, but this is pretty much a one-card combo. This card is fucking insane for the deck, especially if you draw one of the ritual monsters with it as well. It's just super, super insane. Pre-preparation of rights. I don't think this is that standard. I've seen some players play it with the Ryzeal deck as well, but I think this card is really, really broken, especially with the deck profile I made like 3 weeks ago. I made the argument that pre-prep was actually very, very solid, and I still believe that to right now because, to be honest with you, yes, the deck does somewhat have a droll problem, so this does play in the droll, but 7 Tachyon also plays into droll, right? So, like, that was kind of my argument, and this is at least a hand neutral effect, I guess you would say. You activate, you go minus... No. I would say it's a +1, right? Because you get 2 cards out of it. Yeah, it's a +1. Even though, like, the Mirror isn't the greatest ritual spell in the universe, but getting Habakiri and ritual spell is absolutely insane. Or if you power draw, like, a Prayers or Habakiri already, then you can search for Murakumo instead, which is very nice. Yeah, I think pre-prep was just really good, especially going second. It was just more consistency into the Habakiri stuff. Again, I was focused on trying to get to the Mitsurugi stuff more because that's how you're breaking fields is through the Mitsurugi stuff because Murakumo will just blow up the entire field, right? And the Ryzeals can also board break as well, but at least the Murakumo can wipe the entire, or I guess monsters on the field. So that's the reason why I kind of focused on pre-prep with the deck. So I don't know. I really love this deck or this card all day. I actually was the reason why I did not play 7 Tachyon was because I preferred to play pre-prep instead. If you decide not to play pre-prep, you can just throw 7 Tachyon in the deck instead and it's still perfectly fine. But I think if you're more focused on trying to build towards the Ryzeal version of the deck, where it's like you have the Mitsurugi engine as just a package and you're more focused on getting to Ryzeal combos, then you probably will play the Tachyon. But since I, in this deck, more focused on trying to get to the Mitsurugi part of the deck because that's why I valued it more, and then using the Ryzeal stuff just to kind of like have another engine in the deck, then I think pre-prep is probably better for that situation as well. Another like theory is technically mirror if I got like Mischief of the Gnomes in game 2 or game 3, which is what I was expecting to happen, but actually didn't happen. So thankfully it didn't happen. But if it did happen, Mirror doesn't necessarily care because you can exceed the levels of the tribute summon. So that's why I wanted to keep that as well, because that was just a somewhat idea with that is Mirror doesn't necessarily care about the gnomes. You still would have to draw like a ritual monster plus one of the 4s to do it, but like still not, at least you have the backup plan to it, but that never happened, so thankfully it didn't come up. But I love the Mirror in the deck as well. There's a lot of times I searched this without pre-prep, like I would just search it off like one of the ritual monsters, just so I got it into rotation to like to play around like Charmies or something like that, which was cool as well. Like I would like go like ritual, like maybe play around Borrelia. I'd go like ritual summon from deck, tributing Murakumo, summoning or tributing Habakiri to summon Murakumo from the deck. Then going Murakumo, search for mirror effect, summon out the Habakiri from graveyard. Then go Murakumo effect, special back from graveyard, and then all that just played around Borrelia because I never summoned from the hand, which was kind of cool as well. Just like an idea you could do as well. Maybe that's not the best line, but that's just like a line I wanted to give out real quick. But they're like the mirror, you having the mirror gives you options to play around the Charmies, which was pretty cool as well. So I know like maybe not a lot of people are going to agree with playing pre-prep. I loved pre-prep all day. I did not want to cut this card once. Really, really good stuff as well. So that's it for the Mitsurugi package. Now let's get into the Ryzeal stuff. So I was on 2X, 2 ice, 1 sword, 1 node is what I was on. And I was also playing cross, and then bonfire is just a generic searcher as well. This package was really good. Not going to lie, I really did like this package a lot. Like, I more focused on, like, X as a board breaker, and then Ice just being, like, just a powerful normal summon. But, like, Sword, I was like, I never really want to draw a Sword. Same thing with Node, didn't really want to draw it. And then Cross was just, like, another thing, like, I would have in the deck to, like, just have a negate that you could search off of something like Duo Drive. And then, like, in Game 2s and Game 3s, I would side in Purification to get to the Mitsurugi stuff. In hindsight, I think I would flip that. I would actually side Cross. Like, I would do it like this, like put Cross in the side deck, put Purification in the main deck, because the more, again, like I just said, I'm more focused on trying to get to the Mitsurugi combo than I did trying to get to the Ryzeal combo. So if I was prioritizing the Mitsurugi combo, I should have just played Purification in the main deck and sided in Cross later on when I know I was going first. And another reason for that as well is because going second, like in game 1s, obviously is in game 2s. If you know you're going second, then you just side out across. This would be an instant side out for another side card in your side deck. So that's cool. But in game 1s, like if you hard drew across, it was kind of rough. The reason why I want to flip it now is one, like I just said, I'm more prioritizing the Mitsurugi combo, so the trap makes more sense for that reason. But 2, if I ended up going second, and let's say I hard drew this has more applications if you hard drew it, because if you can get it into the graveyard, its graveyard effect is still really, really good. Being able to target a reptile in the graveyard, special summon it, then tribute a monster on your field. Being able to like dodge like targeted removal and stuff like that, like an imperm or something like that would be cool, because you can just summon a reptile from your graveyard, tribute the card they're trying to imperm, and you just play around that imperm as well. So that's the reason why I think Purification should be in there, is because even if you draw it going second, if you can get into the graveyard, it still has that application in the graveyard, while Cross is really bad just going second, because you have to get to, you know, a Ryzeal name for Cross, or a Ryzeal XYZ for Cross to get its value, right? So, yeah, I'd probably flip this in the future. If I play this deck in the future, I'd probably flip this, put Purification in the main deck, and throw Cross into the side deck. But it worked all day. I don't think I drew Cross once in game 1, so that didn't necessarily matter either. The one bonfire just to be a just generic searcher, and Pot of Prosperity, just another just generic searcher for the deck. This was just a 42nd card in the deck. I didn't want to play 41. 42 just made sense. I just love 42 card decks, in my opinion. And you don't necessarily need like half your extra deck. So like Pot of Prosperity did make sense for that as well. And then one more thing I do want to mention as well is I want to cut Murakumo down to 1. I was playing 2 Murakumo. 3 weeks ago, I was on like a 1 Murakumo and 1 Futso. But I think now, after this tournament, I think we should go 3 Habakiri, 1 Murakumo. Instead, that's all you necessarily need for ritual monsters, because you have plenty of ways to get to ritual monsters in this deck. So it's not the hardest thing to do in the world. I never necessarily needed the second one. I played the second one just in case I run into Bestials. But again, Kusangi is just another way to play around the ritual, or the Bestials. So I think putting this down to 1 is probably fine. I'd maybe like cut this one and maybe put in like a second sword would probably be fine, just to have like more Ryzeal names as just like a powerful normal summon, right? So that is it for the engine stuff. Again, I am talking a lot, but again, this is what this video is kind of about. It's just to kind of talk about theory. If that's not what you're interested in, I apologize. But I guess if you're already halfway through this video, I think you do like talking about the theories, because I also do like talking about theory in Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. So now with the engine out of the way, I want to get the non-engine out of the way. Why did I choose to play this non-engine? Well, Fua 1 is just the best going second card in the game. I think this is just worth main decking, but also going first, it's not terrible in this deck because it's a level 4 that you can just normal summon and just get into any rank 4 play. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for me going first if I draw this. And it also have like ways to go into like a Dugaris play and then just discard it from your hand as well going first. But going second is just obviously the best card going second because it makes your opponents play weird. Or if they decide to play into it, you're just going to get a shit ton of draws off of it. Anyways, Droll and I'll come back to Nibiru, the Primal Beaming. Droll and Lockbird was a little bit of a weird one. You might be thinking like you're playing Fua and Droll in this deck. That kind of conflicts with each other. And I would agree with you, but the reason why I decided to play Droll is because I don't have Pirelias. I just straight up don't have Pirelias. So I decided just to play Droll instead. Technically, it's only bad against Malice. In every other matchup, I think it's really, really good. Like against the mirror match, I think Droll can go in pretty hard. Against any like rogue deck, I think Droll can go pretty hard against as well. But the problem is against Malice, it's not necessarily the greatest in the world. There's still applications because surprisingly enough, Malice does search a little bit now with the new like adding Nister stuff and stuff like that. So Droll does somewhat impact them, but they can still pretty much do their combo under Drolls. And then like once game 2s and game 3s, if I did verse Malice, I would just instantly side out of Drolls. But I just wanted to have that game 1 impact because going into the Lubbock tournament, I thought that Mitsurugi Ryzeal was probably going to be the more popular choice because I was like, it's the more cheaper deck technically out of the both of the top 2 decks, which is Ryzeal and Malice. So I was like, okay, I'll probably expect more of that. But surprisingly enough, I only versed one Mitsurugi Ryzeal, and that was round 1, and that was the last time I versed it ever. So I versed way more. I did verse more Malice matchups, so that was kind of unfortunate as well. I do think I will cut this in the future for a certain card we'll talk about in just 1 second. Ash Blossom was a weird card for me because I don't really like Ash Blossom because, again, I'm more prioritizing board breaking than I am trying to interrupt my opponent. So Ash doesn't really make sense for a board breaker kind of an approach, but I wanted to keep it in the deck because it is a stop to a Charmies. That's necessarily the only reason why I kept it into the deck is because I wanted to start the Charmy cards, which was unfortunate. But if I knew I was going like second, I would just instantly take out Ash as well because I'm like, okay, I'm more now trying to focus on board breaking. We'll just take out Ash and put in, whatever I wanted to put in that situation as well. Nibiru the Primal Being. This was a weird one. This was a last second addition to the deck. So a card we'll talk about in just 1 second was Super Poly. We'll talk about this card in 1 second. We had this initially in the main deck, but last second I decided to throw Nibiru into the main deck because in testing we figured out Super Poly is insane, by the way. We figured that out, but the one thing it wasn't good against Super Poly was against a Fiendsmith deck. So if they decide to go on like if I versed a Fiendsmith deck, if they ended on a DDD, that was a problem for me because the DDD does stop a lot of stuff with this. If you don't draw your Ryzeal stuff, it will just stop your Mitsurugi stuff. So you have to draw the Ryzeal stuff out that DDD, or you can nib him before they get to that point, because a lot of the time they summon Lacrima first, then go into the Necrocrypt, and then summon back Engraver, and to make sure they don't get to the DDD, we play the Nibiru for that reason. Another reason against Malice, you can kind of just let them do the combo, and before they get to like an ally code, you can just nib them at that point, and like sure, you still have to deal with like the traps and stuff like that, but you can still pretty much deal with their field as well. So this was a last second addition, and I really do like it in this deck because going first, it's also insane because if you set up on your ritual stuff, you can just kind of let them play, Nibiru them, get all the follow-up in the world with Habakiri and Murakumo since they were attributed, and you still have yourself a board that they have to beat through as well. So this was a very good going first option to like solidify your end field. Like you would just set up on your end field and go, okay, you're never breaking this because I also have a Nibiru in hand as well. So I'm glad I did put the Nibiru in the main deck over Super Poly, but that is the one card I would put over Droll is Super Poly. But again, we'll talk about that in just 1 second. The other board breaker I decided to play was Forbidden Droplet, and oh my god, did Forbidden Droplet go in absolutely hard. I love this card all day. Every time I drew Droplet, I feel like I was just in a winning position. I know this card isn't as popular in this format, but again, I was more prioritizing on just board breaking than I was trying to interrupt my opponent. So the reason why we put Droplet in is, again, I was expecting to verse more of the mirror matches, and in the mirror match, the detonator is kind of what you want to out, right? But a lot of the time they have like the Eclipse Twins and stuff like that, so Imperm doesn't really check it. but Droplet does, because you can send a monster off a Droplet and they can't pop their own detonator because they can't respond to it with detonator. And that's another reason why I want to put Purification in the main deck, is because if someone would Droplet me, in that situation, if I have the Purification, at least I have the Purification to negate the Droplet in that situation. It came up in exactly the mirror match when I versed round 1. Game 3, he set up on the Purification and Droplet, but I had those stones, but I knew this detonator was going to be an asshole. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play my Ryzeal out to force out the Purification. And once he forced out the Purification, I'll go Droplet to negate the detonator, and I should just win the game after that. And that's exactly what happened. I got to a play, I was playing Tornado Dragon in the extra deck. I think I actually made a duo drive. I could be wrong. I forgot how I did it. But the Ryzeals actually baited out the Purification. So he wasted the Purification on I forgot what he did it on, but he did waste a Purification on one of the Ryzeal plays I did. Then afterwards, I went into like the Prayers play, like Tribute Like a Guy. That might not be correct, but I did one of the Mitsurugi plays, and he goes, okay, I'll just detonator now. That's when I changed the Droplet, make sure he couldn't pop it because he had an Eclipse Twins under it. He couldn't pop the detonator itself because I sent the monster off a Droplet, and then the detonator was just out of the game because, again, I forced out the Purification before I did the Droplet, and that's exactly why I wanted Droplet in the deck, was to stop detonator exactly from popping itself and getting itself back into rotation. But it also comes up in the Malice match because you exactly cared about negating the Allied Code Talker, so Droplet, like, just to make sure Allied Code Talker got negated. Or if they set up, like, on a Firewall Allied Code Talker Enfield, Droplet can still negate that. Or if they got to a Bomber Dragon play, Droplet can still negate that as well. Droplet was just there just to make sure my board, like, if I summoned, like, a Murakumo, it made sure Murakumo was going to wipe the field, right? So I really did like Droplet all day. I would not cut this card. This card was absolutely ridiculous all day. It's one of my favorite cards of all time, to be honest with you, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I did love this card all day. And the one I've called by, it was cool. Like, every time I saw it, it was really, really good. I played this again because I wanted to stop the Charmy cards. Like, stopping Droll and Lockbird was pretty important as well. And just, like, going second is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Like, in the mirror match, being able to stop, like, Murakumo coming back, or like stopping like a White Binder or something. Like, it does have applications, or stopping like a Lacrima as well. So this was a fine enough main deck for me. Like I was talking about, so that's enough non-engine in the main deck. Like I was saying, I would probably put Super Poly in the main deck now as well. So again, I was main decking it before the point, but we decided to put Nibiru over the slot. I should have taken out Droll instead and put in the Super Polys and just side deck Drolls when I know I'm versing a matchup that Droll matters. And then Super Poly, again, all day. Every match I went into, I sided in Super Poly. Super Poly was just that powerful of an extra deck card, or just that powerful of a board breaker card, because a lot of decks play into it. Like, if you verse the mirror match, a lot of the time they're ending on the Habakiri and the Murakumo, and Super Poly, you can that play straight into Super Poly, and that can turn off their Purification if they don't have the prayers on top of it as well. Against the Malice matchup, if they end up like Allied Code Firewall, you still have a Super Poly target for that. They're also all Dark Cybers, so Super Poly just make sure it clears the field is pretty nice as well. Like, if they go MTB07, you can like chain a Super Poly, get rid of all their links, and then just like make sure they couldn't banish off the MTB07, which is cool. Like, against Rogue matchups, like, I feel like Super Poly is insane against as well, against like White Forest or anything like that. The only thing that Super Poly I think is not the greatest against is anything with Fiendsmith in it, because Fiendsmith doesn't really play into Super Poly, because a lot of the time the Fiendsmith Envoards are trying to go for the DDD Enfield. But again, that's why I think I should just take out Droll and keep the Nibiru to have that protection against the Fiendsmith and stuff like that. Again, sided in Super Poly pretty much every game I played as well. So that's enough talking. I guess I'm in the side deck now. Lancia, there's really nothing else to say about this card. This was just for Malice, just to make sure Malice... I know Malice can now play somewhat through Lancia now, but it was to make sure they played weird enough, because all you needed to do was make sure they played weird enough, because this deck board breaks like it's its fucking job, so it's pretty good for us. I played 2 Thrust and 1 Talent. This was fine enough. I really didn't want to, like before the tournament, I was like, this is going to be a weird siding talents and not main decking talents, because I really do like talents. But to be fair, I'm glad I did. I'd only side in talents once I know I was going second. I would not side in talents going first, which is surprising enough because talents, the most powerful effect is to look at the hand. But I would only side in talents when I know I was going second with like the thrust and stuff like that. Feather Duster was also insane all day. The times I did draw it, it did pretty much win me the game. Judgments were weird. Like the idea is there. Judgment is just a no card going first to make sure you stop board breakers or anything like that. But I never saw Judgment anywhere in the tournament. I never saw Judgment, which was weird. But yeah, Judgment never came up. The idea is there. I do like Judgment. Barrier and Sanctum was weird. This was just a last second thing because I couldn't find Gnomes in Mischief of the Gnomes in time. That's why I really wanted to play was Mischief of the Gnomes instead. Just couldn't find it, so I just like, okay, I'll just play D Barrier and Sanctum. That's still good enough. Like if I found the Gnomes, I'd actually just cut Barrier for Gnomes and then just cut Sanctum in general and put in the third Super Poly because the Super Poly still works against the Malice matchup anyways, like especially when you're going first because you get rid of two of their bodies. They're forced to have an extender to keep playing, which is cool. So if I found the Gnomes in time, I would just cut DBR for Gnomes and then just cut Sanctum for the third Super Poly. But I didn't find Gnomes in time, so I was just like, I'll just play the DBR and Sanctum and call it a day. To be fair, never sided into these cards ever. Like, I just never felt the need to side these cards in. Because to be fair, I never sided in Thrust in going first. With the exception of... No exception. Like, I just never sided in Thrust going second or going first. Which sounds weird, but like... No, I probably did, and I just didn't see it. Yeah, that makes more sense because a Great Purification was in the deck. So it makes sense for me to put Thrust in the deck. I probably just didn't see it going first, which is the reason why I can't remember putting it in going first as well. But this was a fine enough side deck. Like I said, that's the only thing I would change is if I had Gnomes, I'd replace Gnomes for D-Barrier and then just cut Sanctum and put the third Super Poly in. Then put the 3 Super Polyons over the Droll and then just side the Drolls instead. And then for the extra deck, I'm sorry, this extra deck was kind of perfect. This extra deck was perfect all day. I loved this extra deck. Having Dynamondo, SP, and IP Masquerena was so cool in the deck. It was really, really cool. I'm glad I kept this in the deck, especially because I was nearly convinced off of it. But I decided, I'm like, no, I'm keeping with this link package. And I'm glad I did. This link package came up all day. I love the link package a lot. I'm glad I kept it in. Exiton is cool. This is just generic Ryzeal stuff. The rest of the rank 4s. If you're playing Ryzeal, I think you do have to play Exiton. King of the Feral Imps is just if you draw your Ryzeal stuff and only your Ryzeal stuff. This is your bridge to the Mitsurugi stuff. Dugaris was just like in the combo. I was able to get to 3 XYZ summons. And this was the third XYZ summon if I didn't have to make King of the Feral Imps. So this was just another guy I can make and draw 2 and discard 1 and hope to God we just draw into the hand traps and stuff like that. Playing 2 Eclipse Twins. This was the only 2 of in the deck, and I'm glad I played 2 of it. Like 2 Eclipse Twins was really, really nice. Like one being able to send it off to X and then having the second one just to either send off an X for later in the duel or to hard make if like they negate my King of the Feral Imps, like having to hard make the second Eclipse Twins, which was pretty nice just to play like more around hand traps. I'm just glad I played 2 all day. This card was really, really good. Tornado Dragon, again, never really came up. This was just in there to be in there. It technically came up because I popped a Nightmare Throne to make sure they couldn't get to 2 U-Bells. But again, I don't even think that was that necessary to do so. So I don't even think you necessarily need the Tornado Dragon in this deck. But it was in the deck and it was okay. It never really necessarily came up. If anything, I would actually replace this for a Dark. Yeah, surprisingly enough, I would replace this for a Dark. If like you verse the mirror match, you can still like a Murakumo or something like that, which would be pretty nice. But that's like the only thing I can replace it with. I was only playing 1 Duo Drive. I don't even think you necessarily need 2 Duo Drive, especially since I'm on like... Technically, this is like the full package of swords or the Ryzeal stuff, but like I wasn't focused on getting to the Ryzeal stuff, so I never necessarily need the second Duo Drive, especially since I was playing 2 Eclipse. I would just like, if I needed to get Duo Drive back from grave, I'll just Eclipse it back from the graveyard, right? So like 1 was perfectly fine with me all day. I never needed the second one. So in the future, I probably won't play 2, but if you want to play 2, like let's say you want to cut this Tornado Dragon and just put 2 Duo Drive, I wouldn't be against it. Like that does make sense in my head. But I never needed the second duo drive. The one detonator, because that's all you're allowed to play. It's just detonator. It's an asshole. There's a reason why it's at 1. There's a reason why they hit this deck. Aggregator is just for the X dump to make X a board breaker going second. And then Garua, Mud Dragon, and Save Worm is your super poly package, right? So the Mud Dragon and Garua make sense. These are the two generic enough super poly targets in the format. So these two do make sense for the Super Poly package. You'll see this in every Super Poly package. They're playing Garua and Mud Dragon. But the reason why I'm playing Save Worm was because in testing, I realized the only board that I necessarily had a problem with against Malice was if they set up on Allied Code Talker plus Firewall. That was like the one problem. I was like, damn, that is a somewhat problem for me. I can't really break through that field. So to make sure I can break through that field for a Super Poly target, I played Save Worm. Save Worm needs 1 Cybers, Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link Monster plus 1 Cybers Monster, which is Allied Code plus Firewall, because you can just use Firewall as the Link Monster for Cybers, and then obviously Allied Code Talker is also a Cybers, or you can flip that either way. Doesn't matter. You can use both Allied Code and Save, or Allied Code and Firewall to make it Save Worm, which was pretty cool. I honestly think if you want to play Super Poly in Malice, I think this card would be super cool in Malice because it has a cool top effect where during the main phase you can just special a Cybers monster from your hand, which is also very cool as well. So that's the reason why I played the Save Worm. But now, like when we were thinking on the way there, if I played Dark as instead of Tornado Dragon, let's say I played a Dark, let's say I did versus the Malice matchup and I super polyed like the Allied Code and the Firewall into a Save Worm, then get to a way into a Dark, which isn't hard because Save Worm is a Dark. I can technically Dark target their Allied Code Talker, special it to my field, and the Save Worm's negate in graveyard would be turned online, which is absolutely wild to think about. Even like you don't even have to technically target Allied Code Talker. I guess Firewall's a light, so I guess you can't target that off of Dark. But that was just like a weird thing that only comes up because I'm playing Save Worm in a Super Poly package. That you can technically Super Poly the Allied Code and the Firewall, make a Dark with a Save Worm and any normal summon, then Dark steal their Allied Code Talker and have Save Worm as a negate. And technically, if you can get a Link Monster pointing to Allied Code Talker, you can also just make Allied Code Talker an Omni-Blade. Let me make sure. Yeah, Allied Code is a Dark. It doesn't have any restrictions on a special summon, right? Yeah. Hell, it's only if it's Link Summon. Okay. Woo! I had to read that one there. Yeah, you have to tribute what. Yeah. If you get a Link Monster pointing to this, it's also just an Omni Negate, which is cool as well. Let me make sure Dark is also not just like it has to summon in defense. Yeah, you can just special summon it. But yeah, so that's just like a cool little idea that came up. I don't think that's ever going to come up, by the way. But it's just an idea that is there if it does come up, which is dumb to think about. And that also works for like I guess no. If they're making like a topological bomber, they're probably not making an Allied Code Talker. So I guess you don't have to worry about with that. But it's just like an idea, like any Link 4 technically. So if they do make a bomber and you get the bomber in the graveyard and you go Dark, take the bomber, you have the Save Worm as a spell trap negate, which is cool. Just like little like niche things that will probably never come up, but something just to keep in mind, right? So that is it for the deck profile. Things I would put in the deck I do want to try is Fiendsmith. This was something we last second tested, but I did not feel confident enough to put into the deck because I think this deck would be wild with a Fiendsmith package as well, because the idea is if you get Drolled and Lockbird after you do your Mitsurugi Habikiri search for like a ritual spell, let's say, and they droll you there, you can still, with the ritual spell, get to like a moon and get to a Fiendsmith like line and make it like a DDD, because I also think DDD High King Caesar in this format is kind of broken because it hits the top 2 decks pretty well as well. So that's kind of like an idea. Again, you would have to find the room. I don't know how the fuck you would fit it in this deck, to be honest with you, but that is an idea that I do want to test in the future, is to try to throw Fiendsmith, like a very small Fiendsmith package, by the way, like a very, very, very small Fiendsmith package, but just like some idea. But it'd also have to change up a lot of your extra deck to do that as well. But it is something I do want to test in the future as well. But yeah, that is it for the video. That is enough rambling for me. I do apologize again. This was more of a video just talking about theory and stuff like that. So if you're here for the deck profile, you could have just skipped after like the first minute or so. But yeah, that was just kind of the theories we had with the deck, and the deck was really, really good. I will not lie. Oh, I should talk about the matchups, actually. Sorry, let me talk about my matchup. So round 1, like I said, I versed the Mitsurugi mirror match. Game 1, he fooled me. I gave him like 2 draws and still got to my combo, but I think his hand was just good enough where he cracked my field. And then like I forgot to search off of Murakumo. Like I special back Murakumo, but I actually realized I never searched off of Murakumo. If I think I do search the mirror, like obviously I would search prayers. If I think I search a prayers off of Murakumo, I think I'm still in that game. But then I just realized, I'm like, oh, I just never searched off of Murakumo. I think I realized in like siding, I'm like, oh, I just special back Murakumo and never searched, which was wild. But yeah, he broke my field and like he got to a detonator and I just couldn't break his field after that. Game 2, I went first and went full combo. Like he didn't really have any hand traps, and I just went full combo. Like with I had like purification and cross, which was cool, so I just won that game. Game 3, I fooled him. He gave me like 3 draws and ended on a subpar board, and my hand was just absolutely cracked. It was like Super Poly, Thrust, or not Super Poly, Droplet, Thrust, X, with like Hobby Curiosity in hand, and like, yeah, I think that was it. But like, it was kind of just a wild ass hand that I had against him in Game 3, so I just like broke his field and just completely won the game. Game 2, I versed Yugioh. Game 1 just completely bricked. It was my only brick in the entire tournament, but I did brick against Yugioh. I passed to him on like a nib and droplet with like 3 other bricks in hand. So I passed on that. I got to a point where like the nib and droplet actually did something and it ended his turn. If I top decked like any way to play, I would have won. And I top decked into nothing. So I just conceded game 1. Game 2, I thought he had me. He drolled and Nibiru'd me, which was rough. That's kind of the one thing I was scared with as well. If they go droll and then I play into Nibiru, it is really rough to come back from that. But he was also like on not a decent hand. Like he normal summoned Laurel, went into a Requiem, and I ashed the Requiem, and he went, okay, I'll just pass back to you. And I drew like sword or prayers for turn. I'm like, okay, now the game's over. We're chilling. And then game 3, he makes a hard mix Phantom, turn 1, activates Throne, search for Samsara. I roll, he chains Phantom, then normal summon Samsara, effect, I chain Ash, and that just ends his turn. And I just have like Mitsurugi combo after that. He DDG'd me, but the thing about Mitsurugi is DDG does not matter against Mitsurugi. It matters against the Ryzeal stuff, but it doesn't matter against Mitsurugi, which is really cool. So I kind of just played through his DDG and just won the game that way. Round 3. The fuck did I verse round 3? What did I verse round 3? I think I versed Voiceless. Yeah, I versed Voiceless voice round 3. Game 1, he like purged me, which like stopped my turn. But the thing I realized was he purged me off of Habakiri, which I had no cards on field, which he can't do that because I don't control monsters on field, so he can't activate purge from hand. So just kind of a little bit of a misplay for me, or I just didn't recognize it and I just let it go through. And then he like that just stopped the Ash and Purge just stopped my turn. I'm like, okay, the game's over. He wins game 1. Game 2, I go full combo and he just couldn't do anything. Game 3, my hand was cracked. He was like on the Nadir package, so he summoned Maximus, and it was funny enough. I'm like, okay, I'll just send this Garua, get a draw, which was Feather Duster, and then I top decked into Super Poly. I'm like, oh, that was the most broken 2 cards it could have been, right? So I Feather Duster his field. I also had Droplet in him, so he tried to negate. I Droplet, send the Feather Duster to negate the Skull Guardian, and then I just Super Poly'd the field. He got like stuff back off of it, but it didn't necessarily matter. I still had like full combo after that, so I just won the game that way. Round 4, I versed Fiendsmith Tempai, the first place player. I versed him. Game 1, he ended on a DDD plus 4 hand traps in hand, and I nearly broke the field, but I played into a Baldrake for no reason. Like I shouldn't have played into the Baldrake. I should have just went into battle, clear over Lacrima, then play into the extra deck. But I made an extra deck guy, and he Baldrake banished it, and I'm like, well, fuck. That just fucked me over. And then I just lose the game because I think he just has Fiendsmith stuff, and he just outgrinds me with the Fiendsmith stuff. And then game 2, He has the legit perfect hand. It was Pirellia, Fua, which I gave him no draws because he Pirellia'd me. I went, okay, I don't care about that. Then he goes Fua because I activated Habikiri. I chained Ash to the Fua. Then I ended on Murakumo, Prayers, Droplet, and Nibiru in hand. I'm like, yeah, I feel confident enough that he's not going to break through this field, so I'm not going to give him a draw off of any of these fucking cards, right? So I'm like, okay, pass to you. Feather Duster, I'm like, oh, well, fuck. I didn't have Purification, so I'm like, okay, that's fine. There goes my Droplet. He goes, okay, Murakumo make him discard a card. So he's down to 2 cards in hand. He goes Engraver. I'm like, fuck, okay, I have to deal with Engraver. And he goes, actually he plays around Nibiru pretty well because he doesn't summon Lacrima off it. He just summons DDD on the 5th summon. I'm like, okay, there goes Nibiru gone. And he goes, okay, last card, normal summon Pydra. Just the most perfect hand it could have been, huh? I didn't give him any draws off the Charmies. No draws off the Charmies. And he already just had the perfect hand in hand. So, yeah, we just got 2-0'd there, which was just annoying as fuck. But we lost. Round 5, versus Brandon. Super Poly winning hard against Brandon. That's all you have to know about. Also, Nibiru winning hard against that deck as well. And also being able to Murakumo just discard cards from the hand is kind of cool as well. Round 6, I versed Malice. I versed Malice round 6. Again, this deck already has a good enough time breaking. Like, I was testing against Malice. This deck has a pretty good time breaking a Malice field, so I really did like that. I broke his field, and then it's like, he went first both times. Or, no. I went first game 2, and I drew 3 Lancias, so he lost the game. And then game 3, I Lancia'd him. So it ended on a suboptimal board, and I went, okay. Again, he's on a suboptimal board. I broke his field pretty easily and just kill him through that as well. And then final round, I versed Malice once again. Game 1, I drew Called By for the Droll. Went full combo. He couldn't break it. Game 2, he drew Called By for my Lancia. Went full combo. Couldn't break it. And then game 3, he didn't draw any hand traps. I go full combo. Or no. He drew Pirellia. Didn't give him a single draw for Pirellia. Ended on a Habikiri Murakumo with Purification, Prayers, Nib in hand. And I think I had like a Droplet as well. He goes his Malice combo. I nib him at a certain point because he was trying to play around Purification with a Lingribo. But it played straight into a Nibiru. So before he got to a Link 3, I Nibiru'd him. And that just completely won me the game. So yeah, I went 6-1 and got 3rd place with this list. And now I'll stop rambling because this video has been going on for a long time. So if you did reach the end of the video, thank you for staying tuned for the entire video. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.